This episode is sponsored by UPMC Elite Orthopedics. UPMC Elite Orthopedics is proud to support youth sports across our region and proud to sponsor Scholastic Mirror on the Altoona Mirror YouTube channel. To learn more about their board-certified orthopedic surgeons and the wide range of orthopedic conditions they treat, or to schedule an appointment in one of their facilities in Hollidaysburg or Bedford, visit upmcaltoona.com/ortho or call 814-889-3600.
As you can tell, we kind of have a skeleton crew here today on Scholastic Mirror. My name is Andy Stein. I am what Scotty calls the junior football guru. I am joined by the senior the senior high school sports guru, Mike Boydum. And for the man behind the camera, Dan Eisenberg, I'm Andy Stein. Scott Franco is under the weather this week. I know all about that. It is a very bad case of flu that I had last week. I think Scotty is battling it this week. So, hey, we miss you, Scotty. What do we have?
The playoffs must go on.
Playoffs have to go on.
Hey, I think we all proved it that your job is harder than it looks. You make it look easy.
Yeah.
So.
You are much better at this than I am, so that's for sure. But today we have a lot of high school basketball playoff stuff to go through today, and started this week. It's obviously there's a lot going on. So, Mike, what do you like about playoffs this year?
Well, I'll tell you what. It's going to be competitive, and obviously it's already started. This show's kind of recording, and it depends on when you watch it on what part of where we are in the playoffs. But so we're not going to get too specific into game by game, but we're just going to talk about teams you like and certain classifications. And first of all, in 6A, only two teams entered the playoffs on either side. That's going to be this weekend on Saturday. The playoffs are coming to the championship, and it's in boys. It's Mifflin County and State College. Andy puts together the Lewistown paper, so he sees some of the Mifflin County stories and stuff. Does Mifflin County have a chance against State College?
Well, looking at they have very similar records. I mean, Mifflin County's 10-12, State College is 9-12. I know State College got the top seed, but yeah, I know Mifflin County, especially with their wrestling team. Their wrestling team's always good, but their basketball team has been. I think there's a lot of excitement there around Mifflin County, so I wouldn't count them out in this game at all. But hey, you never know. This is a district championship. Line it up. Records don't really matter at this point.
And then on the girls' side, you have Altoona and State College. They've played twice this year. Altoona's won both of them, but it was, I think, 16 points and then 10 points the second time. So, I mean, State College is no pushover in girls basketball, and they're going to be fired up for the district championship, so you never know what could happen in that matchup. So going down to 5A, that's a little bit of a mixed bag because you have the District 4 teams in with the District 6 teams. So sometimes you see teams that you're not familiar with. Hollidaysburg boys are the favorite, but they haven't won a district championship since 2018. And there's always a lot of pressure involved with that. I mean, especially because there's a lot of seniors. Yeah, I'm sure you can understand the pressure of hey, this is our year. We need to get it done this year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't really have too much to add to that right there. Go to 5A girls. What do we got?
Yeah, the Hollidaysburg girls are probably the favorite in that as well. They had a surprisingly close game with Shikellamy in the championship game last year. So we'll see how that one goes this year. I'm assuming they'll play for the championship, and those are also on Saturday. Yeah. So going down to 4A, We have the Johnstown boys are the clear favorite here. They have beaten Central twice.
From everything that I hear about Johnstown this year, it's something that I like to say is they have the goods this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's been impressive. Now, that made BG's win over them in the Laurel Highlands final even more impressive, that they were able to get that victory there. But they shot the lights out in the gym, and that's what Central did the first time they played. They made 9 3-pointers, and that helped them stick around with Johnstown and only lose by 5 points. They made 0 3-pointers the second time, and things didn't go well. I mean, I know you're more of a wrestling guy, but you know how big 3-pointers can play a role in basketball.
Absolutely, and especially like when you get into college and especially the pros these days. I mean, the 3-point shot is everything. It's like, would you rather have in the pros? Would you rather have a very good big man, or would you rather have a Stephen Curry type player that can shoot threes from mid court, from half court, and most of the time, you would rather have that 3-point shooter.
So, and then in 4A girls, it'll be, there's 3 pretty equal teams in Juniata, Penn Cambria, and Johnstown. So we'll have to see who comes out of that group. But in the 4A boys, getting back to that, we did talk to Coach Paul Frederick. This year they have a semifinal game against Juniata. Last year they had to go straight into, they were the top seed, and they didn't have I don't want to call it a tune-up game because, hey, every game in the playoffs is an important game. Yeah. But they had to go a long stretch without playing. So we asked them the benefits of that, and is the cliche true that it's really tough to beat a team 3 times? You get the chance to play a semifinal game against Juniata this year. Last year you had to go and had a long break before the district championship. Do you think that's beneficial to get a chance to play in that semifinal game?
Yeah, given the choice, I think we'd rather have a game, especially nice for kids to play at home, right? That's another home game for them. They've earned that with the season they've had, so that helps. It keeps you in rhythm too. Tonight certainly wasn't our night. We didn't play well enough to win, obviously, but even getting a chance to play this game kind of keeps you in rhythm. You play late this week, and then you play sometime, I'm assuming, late next week. And go from there, but it's nice to kind of keep a little bit of flow going. Those long breaks aren't always the best thing for teams.
Get third chance probably against Johnstown if you're able to beat Juniata. There's been games where you guys have played well against them in the past, beat them last year before going into districts. What do you need to do to come out in that? And how hard is it to beat a team 3 times?
I mean, first and foremost, we got to get by Juniata. I know you said that, but we got to clean up some things on our end first before we even worry about that. If the opportunity arises, we're going to have to put the ball in the basket more than we have, at least more than we did tonight. It wasn't good enough tonight, but it's people say it's hard to beat a team 3 times, but when you're as good as Johnstown, it's hard to beat them once. They're extremely talented. You're going to have your hands full with a team like that. So we're looking forward to trying to get that opportunity. It'd be a great thing for our kids to get back to the district finals. But first things first, we're going to take care of Juniata.
Thanks to Coach Frederick for taking some time with us. Go right into 3A boys here. What do you like, Mike?
Well, 3A boys should be interesting this year because BG is the top seed. They are another team that is one of our local teams is Tyrone, and they are a team that Andy's pretty familiar with. He's covered them in the past. It'll be interesting this year in the postseason. We have a different guy, Luke Rhodes, leading them, and Luke has had a lot of success in the postseason. The girls have won a lot of playoff games. Tyrone boys have struggled in the playoffs over the past few years, but now with new leadership, do you think maybe this is the year they could make a run?
They could make a run, and I always waited for it in the past with George Grip too. But was that this year or last year they made the drop down to 3A?
They played 3A last year.
Okay,
too.
Yeah, and I remember when they were 4A, they had to be a district champion or else there were no state playoffs. So I'm sure the fact that 3A. That makes it that probably puts a lot.
Three teams go in.
3 teams go in, so that probably takes the pressure off a little bit. I know they want to be district champions always, but the point is to go to play as far into the winter as you can, I think Tyrone has a shot to do that.
There might not be two hotter teams in our area right now than Bishop, Guilfoyle, and Tyrone. Tyrone went down the stretch, and both them and BG are entered the playoffs on big winning streaks, and they both beat Johnstown during that stretch. So they could be on a collision course. They're on opposite side of the bracket, but Westmont, Hilltop, and Forest Hills will have something to say about that because those teams are very good as well. And then in the 3A girls, Forest Hills is coming off a win over Bishop Guilfoyle. That was a very impressive win. Carol Cesari is a really great, legendary coach up there and always has that team ready to play. Westmont Hilltop is another top-tier program with Christiana Gordon. And then you have River Valley, who's the two-time defending champions. So those teams are kind of like the top tier, and then we'll see if anyone else can break into that with like an upset or something like that. But the champion is probably going to come from that top tier.
Over in 2A boys, West Branch is the top seed. I know I'm a little bit familiar with from my time at the Progress way back when, but the West Branch is the top seed. I am familiar with Danny Clark. I've been friends with him a very long time. He's been the coach for probably close to 10 years now, maybe even more than 10 years. From what I hear, they're pretty good this year, too.
Yeah, and talk about what a great job Danny Clark has done with that program. I mean, they're good year in and year out, and West Branch isn't the easiest place to have a competitive sports team.
Yeah.
So you have West Branch, and then the big story locally for us is Claysburg Kimmel. We're hoping that, they can get past their first round game there against United. But either way, this has been their best season in the past 40 years. They have a winning record for the first time in 40 years. They have a lot of talent in the sophomore level in Braden Haney. And, of course, they have senior leadership of a few senior starters led by Elias Ritchie. Have done a really great job this year, and we'd like to see things out of Claysburg and Coach Mike Harris. Maybe we can have him on the show to talk about, what strides that program has made once we get to, more advanced here in the playoffs.
Yeah, going to 2A girls.
Yeah, the 2A girls, Bishop McCourt had been undefeated before losing to BG in the game the Laurel Highlands semifinals. What I find interesting in this bracket is you have a Penns Manor Bellwood Annis matchup, and by the time some of the people have been watching this game will probably already have happened. But one of the things that's interesting is Bellwood entered the Laurel Highlands so that they could have tougher competition and have a chance to be ready for the playoffs. So yeah, they're a 6th seed in that game, but they've played teams as good as Penns Manor. Yeah. Do you think maybe that helps them this year?
Probably, yeah. And I know you look at some of those 2A girls teams. It's like a lot of those teams, they're a repeat of past years when a lot of those teams have made deep runs into the state playoffs and everything.
Yeah, and of course one of those teams is Portage, so we'll keep our eye on Coach Hudak, and they have 5 starting seniors. So we talked about Hollidaysburg earlier. That's another team with a lot of pressure on it, but a lot of experience and a lot of playoff experience. They've made it the whole way to the 1A semifinals 2 years ago. So this team has won a lot of playoff games.
Going into single A boys, Conemaugh Valley here's the top seed. Just what do you expect out of this bracket?
I think it's just wide open. I really think any team from 1 to 7 could win it. And by the time this is airing, some of these teams will already be eliminated. But it's just interesting to know, Conemaugh Valley is the top seed, but they've played a lot of close games. And we'll see if they can make it through. I think, Junior Valley, Williamsburg, Portage, Bishop Carroll, all of those teams are good teams. And Bishop Carroll and Portage played each other in the first round. So one of those teams is already out of it. And, I would have thought at the beginning of the bracket that either one of those teams might have been able to win the whole thing.
Yeah. And last but not least, single A girls.
Well, in single A girls, I think this is going to be the bracket where you see our teams have long runs in the state playoffs. 3 teams make it out of this bracket. Bishop, Guilfoyle, and Williamsburg are the two top teams in my view. They are the number 1 seed and the number 3 seed. Black Lake Valley was the number 4 seed and was 21-1, and they lost by 22 points to Bishop Carroll. So that's kind of like my point in saying that, these teams that like Bishop Carroll played in the Laurel Highlands, they were 1 game under 500 going into the playoffs, but they played a tough schedule, and they get to a team where they're playing a team 21-1, and they handled them pretty handily. And I think at this point in the season, when you've played a tough schedule, it really benefits you.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. That's a look at a lot of basketball right here over the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully even longer into the state playoffs. So now we're going to go into our new segment called Jumping Off the Page, something that we like that's been in our paper rather recently. Mike, what jumped off the page for you?
Well, we'll go with mine first because it sticks with basketball. I saw that Homer Center beat United 58-38 in the first round of the playoffs. And I think that just goes to show you that we just talked about all this stuff. All of this stuff could be completely wrong because Homer Center lost to United in the regular season by 25 points and then turns around and beats them in the postseason by 20 points. So you really... any given night with basketball, anything can happen. And that is what jumped off the page for me because, yeah, it's great to make predictions. It's great to say this is going to happen, this is going to happen. But until they play it out in the court, you really don't know what's going to happen.
Like I just said a little while ago, records really mean nothing at this point of the year. So for me, district wrestling was this past weekend. Congratulations to everybody moving on to regionals. We had 4 area champions. 3 of them are in AAA, but all of them from Altoona. 114 pounds, Braden Weaver. 127, Gavin Champoli. And 152, Luke Sipes. Luke Sipes was actually our Athlete of the Week this week. Good job to those guys. And at AA, we had 1 AA champion. Bishop McCourt really ran through AA. But our 1 champion is from Tyrone, the heavyweight Braden Ewing. And from what I remember about that kid from my time at Tyrone is he had one of the cooler nicknames I've ever heard of. They called him Jefe.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's Spanish for boss or something like that, which, hey, that's a cool nickname, so I like that. Good. Congratulations to all those guys.
Yeah, and any championship won over the next few years in 2A is going to be impressive by one of our area schools because Bishop McCourt really has a stranglehold on that over the next because these kids that are winning championships are not upperclassmen either. They're people who will be back.
Another thing I could have picked for jumping off the page for this is Bishop McCourt. I think they had 7 champions, and I think most of them won by either technical fall or by pin. So, I mean, they are a force right now. That's impressive.
And thank goodness that Braden Ewing will be able to compete at the next level because my brother ran into him down at the brew in Tyrone the other day and stumbled into him and was worried that he might injure him. Thankfully, he made it through safely. So
come on, Todd.
No injury.
Yeah, don't hurt anybody. Come on. All right, well, that's going to do it. Scott Franco, we hope you are doing much better. We hope to have you next time. Well, we should have you next time. It's in 2 weeks or so. But for Mike Boydum, for Dan behind the camera, Dan Eisenberg, I'm Andy Stein. We'll see you guys next time.